Martin, we're going to switch over to you. We know that owning a travel agency or being a travel advisor takes, just like Jason said, that knowledge, that training, being very detail oriented. Martin, what are a few key components that our listeners need to understand and know as a business owner when it comes to hiring people to work in your business?
Well, first off, thank you for having me, and it's great to be here with everyone. And Jason really gave us a great jumping off point for my topic here about in terms of passion and enthusiasm for travel, and then converting that into a business. So when we talk business ownership and potentially hiring into your practice, I'm actually going to give you kind of two things to focus in on. And those two things are going to be what I talk about, the difference between working in your business versus working on your business. So when you work in the business, you need some things in terms of the hiring folks, yourself, what it is that you're doing every day in the business. So I'll talk to that. But first, I want to focus on the business. And that's a little bit of strategy and the strategic part of taking your passion and your enthusiasm and putting into into what I would call that mission and vision statement. So there are a lot of smaller business, small companies who do not think about this because they think, well, I'm small, I don't want to be in environment anymore, so why do I need to mess with that? That's big business stuff. But small business think big business, small businesses should think business and create that mission and vision. It's a guiding principle. I'm going to give you an example of somebody that I worked with in my past coaching practice. When I worked across all kinds of industries, I worked with a dentist and was working with this dentist, and he had a small practice. As I was working with him, he wanted to work on his vision and his mission, and what would that be? Well, I already knew because I had walked into his lobby and I saw sitting just above his reception desk a statement that says, dentistry is ministry. And when he was struggling with what was his vision, what was his mission, we were sitting in his lobby and I actually looked up and I said, tell me a little bit more about that statement. And this is his vision and his mission. So how does that translate to the travel business for everyone else? Is really think about that passion and what is that statement you would carry forward in creating a mission and vision for yourself, because when you hire, you need to have that as the guiding principle and have people who are enthusiastic and, marching to the same beat of the drum as you. The other thing is, yes, of course, you hire for skill, but you should also hire for culture fit, right? And that culture is about what your mission and vision is about. For that dentist, dentistry is ministry. He needed people that really took that to heart. So if you have a mission and a vision that other people can take to heart, then that's the culture of your business. That's the culture that you can carry through. So the second one real quick that I want to go through is that really people need to think about is a training plan. So when we think of hiring into your business and your travel business, so many people think, well, I'm just going to get some assistance and I'm going to get some help, and whew, what a relief. Thank goodness I have people because I can't handle this volume. But what they fail to do is think about the training plan. How am I going to onboard them? How am I going to teach them about my systems and my processes and my culture and what that is? So be sure to set up your new hires for success, create a training plan, and you need to sort of make some decisions along the way. Is that training plan going to be me? I'm going to teach it. I outsource it, and there's no shame in outsourcing. So part of it, I would tell you, should definitely be you, but some of it could be outsourced. And there's great resources out there for outsourcing training in this industry. It could be the Travel Institute. It could be, Travel Leaders of Tomorrow. It could be, the American Society of Travel Advisors, has some great training tools and opportunities. So those are the two things that I would say. So just in quick, don't forget, set up your own mission and vision, and work towards the culture of your company and create your training plan for folks. Those are the two that really come to mind in the time we have.
Thank you, Martin. Very true. The training is going to set them up for that success that you mentioned. And there is a lot out there. And when they're looking at this for their business, they really want to take a good look at that when they're partnering with an Internova travel group organization, because there's a lot of training available.
Yeah, and can I give one little quick hot tip here on that training? By the way, if you're, I know some of you are going to be hiring, employees, but if you're hiring an independent contractor, be sure that you have them have them have some skin in the game. If they have some skin and they're paying for that training as well as an independent contractor, it's going to lead to some greater success down the road. I guarantee that.
Absolutely. And as a business owner, you are looking for that success of those independent advisors. Lee,
Yeah.
let's switch topics a little bit here, and let's talk on that business side of things. Business travel that many of our listeners do for their companies, whether they work in an architectural firm or, what Jason said, law firms, manufacturers, sales divisions. Many travel for their company, for their business, yet there's still a new opportunity that some may not be aware of. And maybe they can complement their existing business with a travel component of it. So Lee, can you talk a little bit about that, what the opportunity is there?
Yeah, I'd love to. And thank you again for including me in this conversation today. And I guess I'll give a quick shout out to Jason for creating the perfect unscripted segue to how you turn your business into a business, right? And speaking really in terms of first person, because I'm a frequent traveler, prior to COVID, pretty consistently, I traveled 1 to 2 nights a week, 2 to 3 weeks a month, for the last 12 years. So, the relationship you develop with the person who helps manage your travel becomes very important to you. And a lot of the listeners today, I think I would argue, are already quasi travel managers. They're managing travel for their people that they work with, their bosses, their friends. They may be arranging, personal trips around their kids' spring break, but they're involved in the research already, the planning process, and they have that familiarity. And to Jason and Martin's points too, they have the passion for the travel, right? They want to take ownership of it. And, that's what frequent business travelers are looking for. As I mentioned, as a frequent traveler myself, I can't tell you the number of times over my career, having the opportunity to reach out to my advisor that helps me, and the comfort that gives you when you're able to make a connection. In this post-COVID world, the lines at the airport are forever long. The hold times on the phone, or you get 3+ hours, or you get the opportunity to have somebody call you back. I can't tell you again the number of times I've been sitting on a plane and everybody is calling up their respective carrier because of a flight disruption or a delay, and I'm able to call my advisor or message my advisor, and things are taken care of for me. So that relationship you have with your travel advisor is very critical. And I think it's easy to sort of continue to expand the relationships you have today to a business in managing travel for those individuals. So, I can guarantee the road warriors and C-level executives value that relationship. Business travel can be very lucrative. A lot of people look at it as requiring a significant investment around technology. And I would argue that, if you want to be large scale or a large TMC, that's probably true. But when you think about business travel, you can also think about how you're managing your cash. So leisure travel, typically, you get paid on what I call consumption, or when the travel actually occurs. And in many cases, that could be 6 months or longer out before you're actually going to see any reward for the effort. But in business travel, when typically there's a service fee involved, you can get paid immediately. Depending on the type of travel that you're arranging, you may be able to earn commissions on a weekly basis. So when you're thinking about how you're managing your business, part of that discussion around is how you manage your cash flow. And business travel can really help sort of smooth that cash flow out, where you're not always investing now for future payment. You can invest now and get immediate reward for that in terms of how you're managing your business. So as I mentioned, people talk about the investment sometimes required to get in business travel. I think Altour is a great example. It's a company that started 30 years ago with 2 people, and they delivered on the value proposition around service. It wasn't around transactional efficiency, which is what we get involved in terms when we think about large scale global service providers. You can build a business on service and that relationship that you have with those individuals. And when you're thinking about how your existing business and how it can transition into a business, those relationships are going to play a very critical role in that again. So, but as I said, Altour, I think is a good example of a business that started out very small and grew into, a mega global travel service provider. And it really thinks about, what's your long-term strategy about how you want to do it. You don't have to grow into that. You can be a very small business and still get very, very handsomely rewarded in that. So, I thought, in terms of first person, I'd share a good story with you guys. Just a very close friend of mine is a C-suite executive at a large hospital corporation. And I've known him for over 20 years. And to kind of sort of put emphasis on that, our families, our wives were pregnant at the same time. Our kids are the same age. And we have traveled for 20 years together. And he was a C-level executive at the hospital group, as I said, with a multi-million-dollar travel spend. And over the years, I'm sort of a passive sales guy. And sometimes when it comes to friends, I want to make sure they're comfortable. I would have this conversation with him about how we could save him money, create efficiency, drive value. And he finally acquiesced, and gave us an opportunity. We got in front of the procurement officer. We talked to him about what other services we can provide. We talked to him about the value on return on value, return on experience, return on investment. And we ultimately were awarded the business. But what's interesting in this, and where I'll go from a long story short perspective, is that the C-suite never mandated the travel. And in the C-suite actually worked with another local business, small leisure shop, and they had a relationship with a travel advisor there, and they wouldn't move. They booked their travel with Debbie. And because they didn't move, it never trickled down line, and we never actually received any benefit of that travel. I did actually win, though, just to kind of share. We actually purchased that agency about 5 years ago, but I can guarantee we did not move that business to a call group. We left that business with that agent, and they're still booking with them today. So it's just, I think it's a perfect example where a relationship matters, especially with people that value the service, value the relationship, and value the attention to the detail around that. So, I guess I would close just, I can guarantee there's a lot of business travel executives that have a real appreciation for the travel advisor in both a personal and a business travel perspective, and they're willing to pay for that service. So it's a good business to get into.
Lee, I would even go further and say, like, a lot of times the travel advisor is an extension of the administrative support. Right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes there's even a blurred line where they think that they're actually on that person's payroll and they're not. And they're like, no, actually we're our own entity. But that's where the relationship of the advisor, and I really can't wait to hear kind of Heather's thoughts and sharing her experiences of how delivering that service, particularly and doing it in such a way and with such a strong relationship and correlation with the customer.
Right.
Yeah, I've been in the industry for 30 years as well. And I started out on the corporate side, and I actually was that person in that corporation sitting in their office doing all of the company's travel. And boy, I got the best Christmas gifts from all of those folks. They cherish their person that saves them when they're on the road, those road warriors. Yeah, so Heather, we're so excited to have you with us. Everyone wants to be a master of their own destiny, and some hold back and they don't pursue those dreams of really, owning, operating, managing your own business. And travel is one of those that is a very exciting piece of that. We have our special guest here, Heather Houtman with Winsome Travel. She's here today to talk about mastering of her own destiny. So Heather, how long have you been in the travel industry selling travel?
Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. And I, would love to share my information, as Martin knows. But I have been in the industry since February of 2018. So fairly new, I would say. Started a business, right before, I would say, the hardest part of the business. But I love what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I see just from your information that you're kind of focused on that honeymoon and couples and family travel. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about how you decided on that niche in travel?
It actually started just out of, I guess, the relationships that I have with the clientele around me. I had no intentions of doing honeymoons. And it kind of fell in my lap. My girls are at the age where they're getting married. They have friends that obviously, hear that my daughters, like talk about my travel agency. And so then they send people my way. And I actually have really loved sharing the honeymoon experience with my clients. I love connective travel. So my husband and I always traveled together just to try and keep our relationship, going and smooth, trying to get away from the kids for a little bit. And the whole experience of traveling with your significant other just brings a different value to your relationship.
Absolutely. And you kind of capitalized on really that time in your life when your kids are at that age that they're getting married. So you really kind of took what was happening in your life and made it kind of a niche of your business in a roundabout way, one that wasn't quite planned, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So any words of advice for our listeners who are considering moving from that consumer of travel to now a business of travel?
Say that my biggest advice is ask a lot of questions. Ask the hard questions, right? Like we always want to ask questions and then we back out of asking the hard ones, right? Like right now, I think one of the hard questions is like, Lee mentioned the not being paid until your travel or until your clients travel. That is not something that I necessarily knew when I stepped into the business. We always think, our clients are aware of what happens behind the scenes, but that was not something that I was aware of, right? I'm booking a lot of travel for 2022, which means, like I could be a year out before I see any of that income coming in. So asking the difficult questions on, like, do you love what you do? What do you not love about what you're doing, right? Because we all have those things that are difficult. And, right now, the age of cancellations and rebookings and all of those are very difficult and things that you don't necessarily want to share as an advisor. But I think it's very important when you have people asking you questions about becoming an advisor, sharing all of those difficult steps and those things. Interview a host if that is the route that you're intending to take. The interview process for me was amazing. I think I interviewed 6 or 7 different host agencies before I found, the answers that I was looking for one, and the hosts that were a valuable resource and gave me time in the interview. I found a lot of them, were very put off by my questions. It was surprising. So I would say interview a lot of them. Seek out a mentor. I have Martin's group with Nexion, and that has been amazing. But I also have a lot of travel advisor friends that have become my mentors, right? Like some of them have only been in the business just as long as I have, but they have a different view on what they're doing. They're in a different demographic. And then I also have other advisors that I've met on familiarization trips that have been in the business for 30 years. And their experiences, my mind is blown by their experiences, the hand ticketing and things that we've never heard of. So a mentor to me has been amazing. And my other tip is be patient, right? Like this is not something that is going to overnight boom. And, talk about yourself, talk about your travels, and, share your experiences, not only with your clients, but with, your viewing audience, Facebook, Instagram, talk about your experiences and people will gravitate to you.
Absolutely. And I understand that you've been traveling since August of last year, even during some of this pandemic situation. Where have your travels taken you to?
I spent a lot of time in Mexico, in the Cancun area. We went to Los Cabos. I've really just taken the chance to put my feet on the ground and get in there and learn the business. When no one was traveling, it was the best time for me to get in and meet the staff of the resorts that I was visiting, introduce myself to my business development managers and then, also just learn the process, right? going to Costa Rica a few weeks ago. I'd never been, and the COVID regulations that we're learning as we enter into a country it's amazing, right? Like I can't get that from the webinars and all of those things. Getting in there and experiencing it. Traveling to Jamaica next week, and I tell you, we talked a little bit about travel regulations and all of those things that need to be done going forward with travel right now. And I'm excited to learn, more and get into Jamaica and hear what their protocols are. So that's what I've been doing while I'm traveling. It's just learning, right? Like I feel like it's such a big return on investment for my business to be able to share what I'm doing.
Absolutely. And we were talking about training, but learning, always wanting to learn more. And we were talking before the call even started about, the various protocols and they change. And, to travel yourself like Heather is doing, like Lee is doing, like Jason just did, really gives you that firsthand insight. And it does allow you to be able to convey all of that stuff over to a client and really solidify your expertise. So Heather, we thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. Everyone on this call has been amazing. You've got great insights to share, and it's important that we're able to get those messages across. And I just want to say, as I'm switching screens on you here, sorry about that. This is the Internova talk series. We just completed Master of Your Own Destiny, moving from a consumer of travel to a business of travel. Internova Travel Group represents more than 62,000 travel advisors worldwide and ranks as one of the industry's largest travel service companies today. At Internova Travel Group, we have various business units that might speak directly to your needs. Please visit our website, www.internova.com, to learn more about owning your own travel business or joining one of our great business units and become that force in the travel industry. Please join us next month in Economics of Owning a Travel Business, where we're going to speak to the topic of building blocks of a better travel business, the economics. Thank you for listening today, and see you next time on this channel of Travel Talk with Internova.